Chiropractic is a multi-billion-dollar industry. More than 20 million Americans visit a chiropractor every year, and that number is growing. There are approximately 60,000 chiropractors in the United States, and according to a 1991 Gallup poll, approximately 30% of the U.S. population has visited a chiropractor at least once in their lives. But how much science is there behind it? Chiropractic was created by a late 19th century metaphysical healer named Daniel Palmer. Palmer had practiced phrenology and magnetic healing and had some osteopathic training. He was inspired by a spiritualist medium to search for the single cause of all disease. The underlying theory of chiropractic rests on the notion that subluxations of the spine impinging the nerve can interfere with nerve flow, which he called the innate life force, and that all a chiropractor had to do was adjust the spine and the body will do the rest. Palmer was never able to demonstrate the existence of subluxations, nor has any chiropractor since. Nevertheless, that doesn't stop chiropractors from raking in our hard-earned salary in return for what they call primary health care. In September 1895, Palmer adjusted the spine of Harvey Lillard, who had been deaf for the previous 17 years. According to Palmer, Lillard's hearing was instantly restored after the adjustment. Palmer apparently did not realize that the bones of hearing are completely self-contained within the head and have no connection whatsoever to spinal nerve energy. Palmer then began preaching the gospel that all disease is caused by misaligned spinal vertebrae, and thus was born the science of chiropractic. In 1998, a large study was conducted to compare chiropractic to physical therapy to a third group who only received an educational booklet. The study concluded, for patients with low back pain, the McKenzie method of physical therapy and chiropractic manipulation had similar effects and costs, and patients receiving these treatments had only marginally better outcomes than those receiving the minimal intervention of an educational booklet. Whether the limited benefits of these treatments are worth the additional costs is open to question. If you confront a chiropractor to demonstrate exactly what effect nerve impingement is supposed to have upon your health, they will often fall back on the notion of the innate life force, or will proceed to tell you that they don't know how it works, but it does, or that medical studies are now underway but haven't yet been published, or will attempt to dazzle you with ambiguous language such as pathological processes may be influenced by disturbances of the nervous system, which is of course true, but does not support the notion of subluxations or validate chiropractic in any way. In 1973, Yale University anatomist Edmund Crelin demonstrated that subluxations, severe enough to impinge upon the nerves exiting through the openings between the spinal bones, were impossible to produce without total disablement. Instead of the scientific response of attempting to reproduce his research, the ACA simply declared his work to be invalid because it was done on cadavers. In 1973, Dr. Stephen Barrett sent a healthy 4-year-old girl to 5 chiropractors for a checkup. The first said that her shoulder blades were out of place and found pinched nerves to her stomach and gallbladder. The second said the child's pelvis was twisted. The third said one hip was elevated and that spinal misalignments could cause headaches, nervousness, equilibrium, or digestive problems in the future. The fourth predicted bad periods and rough childbirth if her shorter left leg were not treated. The fifth not only found hip and neck problems but also adjusted them without bothering to ask permission. Several years later, 11 chiropractors who examined 2 adult women had similarly inconsistent findings. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General, or OIG, released a report in 1986 which stated, heated controversy regarding chiropractic theory and practice continues to exist. On-site and telephone discussions with chiropractors and their schools and associations, coupled with a review of background materials, result in a picture of a profession in transition and containing a number of contradictions. There continues to be some disagreement within the profession regarding which conditions are appropriate for chiropractic care and regarding appropriate parameters for treatment. The OIG investigators also made note of the problem side of chiropractic. The report states, despite the evidence which was presented during the study regarding an increased emphasis on science and professionalism, there also exist patterns of activity and practice which at best appear as overly aggressive marketing, and in some cases seem deliberately aimed at misleading patients and the public regarding the efficacy of chiropractic care.